Frankie Muniz will attempt to make his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut at Daytona, and Noah Gragson is bringing some old sponsors back in 2024. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We got a ton of NASCAR and other motorsports stories discussed here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into those really quickly. We're first going to take a look at a ton of paint schemes that have been revealed over the course of the last couple of days. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. The first paint scheme we're taking a look at is Lanrig's 2024 Northside Hospital scheme that we'll see at Atlanta in a couple of the races throughout 2024. This scheme looks solid in my opinion, pretty plain, but looks solid in my opinion, and looking forward to see on the racetrack in 2024. The next paint scheme we're taking a look at is Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick's 2024 McDonald's schemes. I like both of these a lot. I think the colors contrast very, very well. They're not as good as other McDonald's schemes like Kyle Larson's used to be, but I think both these schemes look solid. I think Bubba's is a little bit better than Tyler Reddick's, but I still think both these schemes look really solid. The next paint scheme we're taking a look at is Corey LaJoie's 2024 Gamebridge scheme. I like the scheme quite a bit. Very, very similar to last year's, but I've always been a big fan of Gamebridge cars in IndyCar and NASCAR. And the final paint scheme we're taking a look at is Christopher Bell's 2024 DeWalt Interstate Battery scheme that we'll see in the Daytona 500. I'm not a fan of this paint scheme. There's too much clashing going here. The Interstate Batteries just does not work well here with the DeWalt scheme. It's not awful, but I've seen a lot better paint schemes. Maybe Christopher Bell can have some good luck with that scheme in the Daytona 500. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Sitgard. As it was announced earlier today that Sitgard will sponsor Todd Gillan for 2 races in 2024. Sitgard had been a former sponsor, I believe, of Farmer Motorsports back in the day. I think they also might have sponsored Harrison Burton last season. It's really cool to see that Todd Gillan, though, is bringing him back for only 2 races, but I think it's awesome to see that Sitgard will sponsor Todd Gillan for 2 races in 2024. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Jeb Burton. As it was announced earlier today that Jeb Burton will be sponsored by Golden Corral in 2024. The number of primaries has not been made clear how many they will sponsor him, but I think it's pretty awesome to see that Jeb Burton will have the Golden Corral sponsoring him in 2024. I also do believe that they potentially could be working with his father Ward at some point in the 2024 season, which I find to be pretty awesome and cool. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Madison Marsh. As it was announced on Friday that Madison Marsh will be the honorary pace car driver at the Daytona 500. For those who do not know Madison Marsh is, she was just crowned as Miss America 2024. The Daytona 500 is going to have a lot of big names out there this year. Miss America is one of the biggest names. Congratulations to her on winning Miss America, and pretty awesome to see that she'll get the chance and opportunity to be the honorary pace car driver at the Daytona 500. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Bass Pro Shops. As it was revealed over the weekend by Joseph Strigley that Bass Pro Shops will sponsor Martin Truex Jr. for 23 races this season and Austin Dillon for 12 races in 2024. There are a few races this year that there will not see any Bass Pro sponsorship with them. There's another driver that we'll talk about later who it sounds like that does have Bass Pro Shops. But I'm really glad to see that Bass Pro will continue bringing a lot of money out and funding Martin Truex Jr. and Austin Dillon for the long-term future. Really awesome and good stuff. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about 47. As it was officially announced on Friday that 47 has signed a licensee agreement with NASCAR to produce a variety of Team and NASCAR hats and apparel. This has been rumored over the course of the last couple months and last couple weeks that 47 was going to sign a partnership with NASCAR. They've had some really cool merchandise. Many drivers in NASCAR. I think SVG's got some merchandise. I think Kyle Larson and Bubba Wallace also got some 47 merchandise. From what I've seen on the website, it looks really awesome. And there's a lot of really great things about it. They look really, really good. And I'm looking forward to see some merch. And I might, in fact, have to pick up some of this merch because honestly, I think it looks pretty good. And I'm excited to see this merch in 2024. Looks pretty good, in my honest opinion. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Ryan Blaney. Now on Friday, Ryan Blaney was at Friday Night SmackDown. Friday Night SmackDown, of course, part of WWE. Basically wearing a champion's belt after, of course, winning the NASCAR Cup Series title. It's really cool to see that Ryan Blaney is going out there and doing these things because we haven't seen this as much in NASCAR when it comes to the popularity of the sport. And bringing out your most recent champion is going to get some eyes and attention on someone like Ryan Blaney. And some of those fans from the WWE could potentially be converted to being fans of NASCAR. So I think this is pretty cool that they're doing this, and glad to see that Ryan Blaney was able to attend Friday Night SmackDown. I think he was with Triple H, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty cool to see Ryan Blaney was at Friday Night SmackDown. Really happy about it, in my opinion. And now we're going to hedge on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Doug Rice. As it was announced on Friday that Doug Rice will be the Grand Marshal at Atlanta Motor Speedway next week. Doug Rice, of course, has been a longtime PRN commentator, announced about a week or two ago that he will be retiring from working at PRN or basically being a lead commentator there. Doug Rice, an incredible voice, a generational person in the sport. Congratulations on an amazing career, and I think it's really awesome that Doug Rice is going to get honored by NASCAR and will get the chance and opportunity to give the command. I think he's going to get a really energetic command, and I think he'll do a really awesome and good job on that. So I'm very happy for him that he gets a chance and opportunity to give the command for the Daytona 500, not Daytona 500, excuse me, for the race at Atlanta. I'm really excited about it. That will, of course, happen next week. Really awesome and good stuff overall, in my opinion. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Roush Yates Engines. As Roush Yates Engines over the weekend revealed their 2024 lineup. The teams that are going to be part of it, according to their reports, are Stewart-Haas Racing, AM Racing, RFK, Penske, RSS Racing, Rickler Racing, Firmer Motorsports, and the Wood Brothers. Drivers included in that group are Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Haley Deegan, the RSS drivers of Ryan Segan, Blaine Perkins, also other drivers from Team Penske, like I said, like Ryan Blaney. Also, we'll have basically Cody Ware as well, from my understanding, and even Riley Herbst, I think, is part of that group as well. They've got a really strong lineup with all these teams and all this branding, and again, I think it is a very strong and great combination of teams, and honestly, I'm surprised that Frankie Muniz is not part of that this year, but I think the Roush Yates engine lineup is really solid, and I can't wait to see all these people out there with Roush Yates engines this year as they buff up their performances in NASCAR going into the future. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Stanton Barrett. Now, Stanton Barrett was on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio apparently on Saturday, and he revealed that he's hoping to attempt the Xfinity Series race at Circuit of the Americas. It was announced about a couple days ago that Stanton Barrett was going to be driving the 74 car for My Carmen Racing at Daytona International Speedway, and now he's going to get the chance and opportunity to potentially also run a Circuit of the Americas. Stanton Barrett has been in NASCAR for a very, very long time, since like the early 2000s, and of course he's known as a stuntman in Hollywood. I'm really excited to see him potentially get the chance to run at Circuit of the Americas, and hopefully he gets the chance to run with the team and perform at a really, really good level, because I think it'd be really good for the sport if Stanton Barrett can do a really good job working there as well. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Mason Maggio. As it was announced on Friday that Mason Maggio will be driving a 21 for Floridian Motorsports at Daytona International Speedway. Mason Maggio has been in the industry basically as a journeyman driver and up-and-coming talent over the course of the last couple of years and has been racing with teams like the Raymond brothers. Floridian Motorsports is also a new organization. The owner is a little bit questionable to say the least, but it is really good to see a new team and organization. Apparently they purchased a lot of stuff from On Points Motorsports and also purchased a lot of stuff from KBM when they were a Toyota organization. They look for them really, really good. They're going to, of course, have to qualify in on time. It's going to be there's going to be 38 trucks entering the race this year. We'll see if Mason Maggio, though, can make the show this year in 2024. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Jennifer Jo Cobb. As it was announced on Friday that Jennifer Jo Cobb will in fact attempt the truck race at Daytona International Speedway. Now the details are still being announced currently at the moment, who the crew chief is going to be and what manufacturer is going to be according to TobyChristie.com. But Jennifer Jo Cobb has ran at Daytona for many years. Now I believe that Jennifer Jo Cobb did not race last year or didn't, I think, many races last year in 2023. So I really hope for Jennifer Jo Cobb's sake that she can be able to make the show and make the event this this year. It's going to be tough competition because she's going to be in some pretty not great equipment, and there's a lot of good competition in trucks this year. Not as strong as last year, though, but I think she does have what it takes, and we'll see if she can bring Jennifer Jo Cobb Racing back in the event. Looking forward to see what she can do at the event this year in 2024 at Daytona. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Jason White. As it was announced earlier this evening that Jason White will drive the 22 for AM, not for AM Racing, for the Raymond brothers at Daytona International Speedway. Raymond brothers are going to have 3 full-time entries in 2024, the 22, the 27, and the 33. Jason White, not the one that's known for basically Celsius sponsorship, the guy that is known as a Canadian Jason White. He looks to make the show this year. Obviously, Raymond brothers are locked into the main event with the sponsorship that they have and also the owner's points they have. I think Jason could have a decent run. We'll see what he ends up doing and see how competitive he ends up being. But I'm glad to see Jason White getting the chance and opportunity to run with the Raymond brothers once again. He's driven for them many times before, but I think he's got a good chance and opportunity here to be really competitive and really fast at Daytona, which of course is this weekend. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about BJ McLoud. As it was announced on Friday that BJ McLoud will drive the 78 car for his own organization, BJ McLoud Motorsports, at Daytona International Speedway. BJ McLeod, it's unclear how many races this team is going to run in 2024. Obviously, they're going to be running part-time this year in the NASCAR Cup Series with Live Fast Motorsports, but it's unclear if they're going to run full-time or run a part-time schedule. BJ, of course, a pretty solid super speedway racer, is going to be looking to make the event and the show. If he can survive the carnage and make it, that'd be good. I don't know where they are in the owner's points. They might be in a good position, but hopefully we can see this team end up making a show because I think if BJ McLeod can make it, we saw how fast they were, I think BJ could have a solid run. We'll have to wait and see what happens to see how he ends up performing, but I think BJ could have a solid and good run in his own equipment at this event. We'll see how he ends up doing, though, and see if he can, in fact, make the show this respective season. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about RSS Racing. As earlier tonight, they revealed their spotter and crew chief lineup for 2024. So for the 28 car, they'll be driven by Kyle Sieg. Mike Skeers is going to be the crew chief, and Freddie Kraft, a longtime spotter, will spot for Kyle Sieg. For the 29 car, they'll be driven by Blaine Perkins. Steve Addington, a longtime crew chief in NASCAR, will be the crew chief for him. And Tony Raines, who spots for Ryan Preece this season, will be the crew chief this time. Of course, Freddie Kraft also spotting for them as well for the team. Then you've got the 38 car, which will be driven by CJ McLaughlin. Kevin Johnson will be the crew chief there. And Doug Campbell, who's spotter for Austin Cindric, will be the spotter there. And the 39 car for Ryan Sieg, you'll have Matt Noyce, who's been a veteran crew chief for years, and Tim Fedewa, who is going to be spotted for Ryan Blaney this season, working with the team. They've got a really strong lineup of spotters and crew chiefs, even though the drivers may not be the greatest in the world. I think they've got a good lineup going into this year's event. And again, I love what they have going into this season. I think it's a really solid lineup, and I'm glad to see the RSS Racing is working toward the future and looking at their lineup. I think it looks pretty good going into Daytona this week. All cars, I think, are in good position at owner's points. We'll see if, though, they can all make the show with the spotters and the crew chiefs they have. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Nice Motorsports, as they have also revealed their 2024 crew chief lineup. So Mike Hillman Jr., a long-term crew chief who won the championship in trucks with Todd Bodine once or twice, will be the crew chief for Bailey Curry this season in the 41 truck. For Matt Mills in the 42 truck, his crew chief is going to be John Leonard, who last season crew chief for Stuart Friesen for multiple races and crew chief for a lot of 2022. And Phil Gold returns as the crew chief for the number 45 All-Star truck that we're going to talk about later in this episode. This is also a very solid crew chief lineup going into this year. Phil Gold, who nearly won the championship with Ross Chastain, and also Carson Hocevar, gets moved over to the All-Star lineup. John Leonard, who's got a lot of veteran experience, has been in the industry for years. I think he'll do a good job there in the 42 car. And then, of course, Mike Hillman Jr., who, like I said, has won championships in trucks, will get an opportunity to work with Bailey Curry, a very underrated driver. It's a good lineup going this season. I'm excited to see what they can do this year in 2024. Hopefully there are some good performances that come from all the people at this team this season. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Zay Smith. as it was announced on Friday that Zay Smith will drive the 91 truck for McAnally Hilgeman Racing for 4 races in 2024. He'll drive at Las Vegas in a couple weeks, then he'll race at Bristol, then he'll race at Texas, and then he'll race at Kansas Speedway. Zay Smith, of course, who is the 2024 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion, will for the first time since 2021 be driving a Chevy. Because remember, he's going to be moving over to Spire Motorsports and Trackhouse Racing in 2024 in the Cup Series. He'll also get some experience because remember the last couple of years, he's driven for Front Row Motorsports. I look at this equipment and I think that he has a really good chance and opportunity here to not only perform, but I think he's got a really good chance to go out there and win. I think he's going to be very, very competitive, and I think he absolutely, like I said, has to be one of the big front runners for these truck races. Especially McAnally Hilgeman getting a lot of old stuff from GMS. This is going to be a pretty good year, in my opinion, for Zay Smith in the 4 races. I would not be shocked or surprised if Zay Smith, if not only wins 1, maybe gets a couple wins, considering he's pretty used to the trucks. I think he'll have a good chance of winning a few races with McAnally Hilgeman Racing this season. And like I said, I'm really excited to see that he'll be working with McAnally Hilgeman. He was spotted in the shop, and I'm glad to see he gets a chance and an opportunity now. Because like I said, I do believe that Zay Smith will be very, very competitive and will have a great chance and opportunity to win with this team in the Truck Series in 2024. And now we're going ahead, Jabon, to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Nice Motorsports. As on Friday, they revealed the drivers who will be driving the number 45 truck. Remember, it was announced around my birthday that Lawson will not be returning to the team, and they were going to be having an all-star lineup for this year in 2024. So the 4 drivers that are going to be driving for Nice Motorsports in the 45 truck are as follows: Roush Chastain, Caden Honeycutt, Johnny Sauter, and Connor Mosack. Caden Honeycutt is going to get the lion's share of the races this year. I believe his first race is going to be at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and will run 12 races in this truck in 2024. Roush Chastain, I believe, is going to run around 4 to 5 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series races with Nice Motorsports. Obviously, has driven for this team many, many times and really won a championship with this team in 2019. Then you've got Johnny Sauter, who's making his first starts in trucks, I believe, since 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And he'll be in the truck at Daytona National Speedway this weekend. And then Connor Mosack, who last year drove for Sam Hunt Racing, will get behind the wheel of the seat as well for 3 races this year. Let's first start with Caden Honeycutt. Fantastic opportunity for him. I think he's going to make the most of it. I don't know if he's going to win this year, but you never know because you've got Phil Gold, who's one of the best crew chiefs in the business. That could lead Caden Honeycutt to being very, very competitive this year at Daytona or throughout the year, and I think he could win a race. Roush Chastain might win a race as well because Chastain has always ran good in the Truck Series. Every race that he runs, he will be a major front runner, with the Truck Series being a little more open than previous years. Johnny Sauter, glad to see him back in the Truck Series this year for a few races. Obviously not full-time anymore, unfortunately, because you do need sponsorship and funding. But I do believe that Johnny Sauter will be somewhat competitive in the select race he runs. I don't expect him to be a championship caliber driver like he was in the mid-2010s, but I think Johnny Sauter will do solid. And then finally, let's talk about Connor Mosack. Really, I'm not a big fan of this move. Connor struggled with Sam Hunt Racing last year, did not perform at a really good level, and I don't expect Connor Mosack to set the world on fire with this organization this year in 2024. I think he's going to be finishing near the back of the pack, and I think he's going to be the weakest driver at Nice Motorsports this upcoming season. If I had to rank him, Chastain at the top, Honeycutt second, Sauter third, and then Connor Mosack fourth. It's a solid lineup, though. Hoping Nice Motorsports can perform at a really strong level. It would have been cool to see someone like a Matt DiBenedetto get a chance to drive with this team, but I think it is a very solid lineup for Nice Motorsports, and hopefully all 4 drivers do really, really well this year in 2024 in this event and see if they can go out and win races in the 45 truck. I think they've got a chance to do that this year, but we'll have to wait and see what happens and see how they end up performing in the 2024 season. It might be tough for them. Hopefully they can prove me wrong and do really, really good this year in 2024. We'll see what they end up doing this year with the organization and the team. And now we're going ahead, Jabon, to the first of 2 major stories in today's episode as we're talking about Noah Gragson. Now, over the weekend, there was a photo that surfaced on Twitter and multiple sources indicating that Noah Gragson may be bringing back some sponsors for 2024. According to a photo that surfaced inside the Stewart-Haas Racing shop, because Stewart-Haas Racing, for whatever reason, cannot keep secrets, it looks like that Ranger Boats, which I believe is a part of Bass Pro Shops, and Black Rifle Coffee, and Winchester, and Bass Pro Shops are looking to make a comeback with Noah Gragson in 2024. There was a lot of questions surrounding what sponsors were going to be joining Noah Gragson. Obviously, he had the incident back in August where unfortunately he lost a ride with Legacy Motor Club. And a lot of people were wondering if there were going to be any sponsors that were going to be following Noah Gragson over to Legacy Motor Club this year. But it looks like at this point that is going to end up happening. And I have to say, I am very happy to see this, because Noah Gragson is someone who I think deserves a second chance with Stewart-Haas Racing. And he started the year off on a really solid note, considering the fact that Noah Gragson did perform at a good level in some ways. Yes, he finished like 4 or 5 laps down in the Clash, but he was able to make the main event, which I didn't think he was going to make the main event, but he impressed me in a lot of ways by making the main event at the Busch Light Clash. And seeing him bring his sponsors back to the teams is really cool to see. Again, it's unclear how many races it's going to sponsor. We do know the Black Rifle Coffee and Ranger Boats are going to be working with him in the Daytona 500, but the rest of the schedule has not been determined. And again, I was very concerned because when I looked at the Roush Truck Center's car that looked like a test car from preseason Thunder, I was very, very worried that Noah Gragson was not going to have any major backing or major sponsorship. But now we know for sure that he is bringing some sponsors over. And like I said, I am very happy to see this because I like Noah Gragson a lot, and I believe he deserves a second chance. And I was really hoping to see him bring some of those old sponsors back, like Bass Pro Shops, and even Winchester, which I think is a pretty big company, by the way, and Black Rifle Coffee. I had thought originally Black Rifle Coffee was going to be coming in to sponsor Noah Gragson this season, simply because of the fact that Noah Gragson is a likable driver. Yes, Noah Gragson did, like I said, make a mistake last year, and you got to be careful what you like on social media, but I even said this at the point, and I've even said it at times, Noah Gragson never should have been suspended by NASCAR. If Legacy Motor Club wanted to suspend him, that was up to their discretion, and they can make that decision if they wanted to. It was their decision. But I've been saying this, that Noah Gragson has deserved to get sponsors. And when it was confirmed that Wendy's was not going to be coming over with Noah Gragson to the team, I was very, very concerned because, of course, Wendy's is going over to Trackhouse this year, and I was really worried that Noah Gragson was not going to have any sponsorship. But again, I think it is really awesome that he, in fact, will have some sponsors this year from Ranger Boats and also Bass Pro Shops as well, and Black Rifle Coffee. It'll be very interesting to see what other sponsors Noah Gragson does end up bringing over, because again, a lot of these sponsors worked in the Motor Junior Motorsports, and I think Noah Gragson, while I think he might have some struggles in the Cup Series this year, I certainly think he will do better than what he had done last year with the organization and team at Legacy Motor Club. Even though I think Legacy Motor Club will be a better team this year, I don't think Noah Gragson is going to suck it up in Cup as much as he did. So like I said, again, I'm very, very pleased and very happy to see that he's got some sponsors and has got some funding going into this season. I'm very happy for him. And like I said, I was wondering to see if he was going to bring any sponsors in, but I'm very happy and glad to see that Noah Gragson will be bringing in Ranger Boats, Bass Pro Shops, and Black Rifle Coffee. He's deserved a second chance to go to Stewart-Haas Racing, and I think he'll do really good with that second chance. Very happy to see him have sponsorship and getting that second chance with Stewart-Haas Racing this season in 2024. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the final story of today's episode as we're talking about Frankie Muniz. Now, if you've been paying attention and watched my channel over the weekend, it was officially confirmed on Friday that Frankie Muniz has a ride for 2024. He is going to drive a 35 car for Joey Gase Motorsports at Daytona International Speedway. In addition to that, Frankie did reveal that he is planning to run other races throughout the 2024 season. The number race that he plans to run in 35 car has not been confirmed. We were really wondering what Frankie Muniz was going to be doing in 2024. There was a lot of concern that he wasn't even going to be behind the wheel of a car at all. We thought maybe go back to basically Reddit Jones Racing in ARCA this season, but then it was announced about a week prior that Justin Bonsignor, actually on Wednesday as a matter of fact, that Justin Bonsignor, who is a legend in the Wheel and Modified Tour, will be making his ARCA debut this weekend at Daytona. And then we were wondering if maybe he would go to RSS Racing, because members initially reported that he was going to go to RSS Racing, but then it was confirmed by multiple sources from RSS Racing that that was not happening. And now Frankie Muniz will get the chance and opportunity to work with Joey Gase Motorsports this year. Now, one thing to remember is that he does have to qualify his way into the event. But luckily for Frankie Muniz, he will be in a decent position considering the fact that they have taken the 24 points from Sam Hunt Racing. They were 25th in the standings. And if they don't have qualifying because the weather for Saturday doesn't look absolutely amazing, Frankie Muniz should be good to go. Again, the number race that Frankie is running with Joey Gase Motorsports is unclear at the moment, but if I had an early prediction of how many races Frankie Muniz is going to run, I think it'll be around somewhere like 6 to 10 races in 2024, and then maybe eventually he goes full-time in 2025. Frankie Muniz is one of the most energetic people on the grid, and he's very, very serious about this. Last year, he drove for Reddit Jones Racing and the number 30 team, and I have to say, while he didn't do absolutely amazing, he did have a solid year and did run good with a team that is not one of the top dog organizations. Reddit Jones Racing, no disrespect to them, they're not the best organization in the world. They're kind of a mid-pack organization at best. And Frankie Muniz got a top 5 with this team, I think, at Michigan, and scored like 10 or 11 top 10s. And yes, ARCA's not as competitive as he used to be, but for Frankie, for the most part, through the first half of the year, did run well. Second half of the year, unfortunately, did not go as planned, unfortunately, for Frankie, but a lot of that really wasn't his fault. He got caught up in a lot of mistakes and a lot of wrecks this year. And I see him get the chance to move up to Xfinity is really, really incredible. I also wouldn't be shocked or surprised to see him run some truck races as well. The 66 truck from Motorsports Racing does have some races available. If they do end up running 66 truck full time, I would love to see him get the chance and opportunity to do that. But again, I'm very, very pleased and very happy to see that Frankie's getting the opportunity, because this is a huge deal for Frankie to move up. He's been wanting to move up to Xfinity. He eventually does want to get up to the Cup Series. And like I said, he's extremely serious about this and wants to make it a big deal. And when you think about the Xfinity Series this year, man, it is stacked with a lot of talent and a lot of great drivers. You got Shane Van Gisbergen going full-time this year. You've got Haley Dean going full-time at AM Racing. Chandler Smith's over at Joe Gibbs Racing this year. You've got Eric Almirola with JGR. Sheldon Creed with Joe Gibbs Racing. You got AJ Allmendinger back in the Xfinity Series. Josh Williams is over with Colleague Racing this season. You've got Jesse Love moving to the 2-car this year. You've got John Hunter moving up the Cup, but also running 10 races in Xfinity. You've also got other drivers moving to different places and different faces throughout the year. And I think that the Xfinity Series is extremely stacked for 2024. There's a lot of great talent in this series. You might see Bubba Wallace make some starts here at some point if JGR has that 20-car available. You're going to see some other drivers come down, probably even like Tyler Reddick. And again, John Hunter will be with the 20. I think the Xfinity Series is stacked, and I think a lot of drivers moving up because there's a lot more equipment available. And nonetheless, I'm just really excited and pumped up to see that Frankie Muniz is moving up. Again, I think he's going to make the best of it. He's a great talent. He's not going to set the world on fire with Joey Gase Motorsports because my expectations are very low for him this season. But again, I think that Frankie could have a solid and good season with the team in 2024. So nonetheless, congratulations to him on getting the chance, the opportunity to work with Joey Gase Motorsports in 2024. And I really hope he can make the best of it with this organization this upcoming year. So, that is for today's NASCAR news and Motorsports news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support on Patreon as well. Links are below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. How do you think Frankie Muniz is going to do in the select races? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And what are your thoughts about Noah Gragson getting some sponsors? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. There's going to be another news video dropping later today, later this morning. Then tomorrow on the channel, all 3 series race picks videos more than likely are going to be dropping for Cup, for the Daytona 500, for Xfinity and trucks as well. Then on Thursday, we'll have dual race reviews and potentially also another NASCAR news video. Friday, we'll have the truck series race review. We've got a ton of great content dropping on this channel that I cannot wait for you guys to check out. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.